Welcome back, YouTube, to the GOATcast podcast. I'm your host, BigNige, and this is another segment of Basketball with BigNige. First and foremost, happy holidays, and we're going to be doing the part 2 or part 3, depending on if my video or CW video come out first, for our tier list. We did a tier list earlier this week for the live stream, so definitely go check that video out to see why we have the rest of these guys in this tier list, how we rank them accordingly. CW is going to do this first half of the list, and he stops about right here with Porzingis. And I'm going to do the second half, starting with Emmanuel quickly right here. And I also added a couple new faces down here. So, as always, before we get into the video, like the video, comment down below your thoughts on the tier list, and let's get to it. So, number one, we'll start with Emmanuel quickly. I think this is no surprise to anybody. He's only played 3 games this year. Haven't been available. He injured his elbow against the Los Angeles Lakers back in November. He was tracked to come back, I believe it was mid-December. Here we are now, currently, as of this recording, mid-December. He is not back yet, but I think he will be back soon. But obviously, he was only averaging 15 points a game. 3 games, a very small sample size. I have him as a role player. He's a very good player off the bench. Can do some things for you mainly in the scoring department, but can pass the ball, can put points on the board. We know those things, but it's still a very small sample size for him. So he's cool as a role player. Next on the list, we got Mr. Julius Randle. Now, anybody who's followed this channel knows that Julius Randle has been a interesting person for me because he has some high highs and some low lows. Now that we're about midway through this season, I kind of have formulated my opinion on Julius Randle. I don't like his fit with this team. I didn't really like it when this trade happened, but I was willing to give him some time to see just how he fit alongside Anthony Edwards and the crew. And I don't really like his fit for a few reasons, but I'm not going to get into it too much. But just his defense on this team is really bad, man. I mean, there are some games where he is a serviceable defender, but there's too many times, especially in transition, where he fails his team on that side of the ball. So from last season, in about 35 minutes, he put up 24 points, 9.2 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, shooting 47% from the field, 31% from the three-point line. So obviously, last season he was putting up all-star caliber numbers, but this season in a slightly reduced role, but nonetheless, 33 minutes, he put up 20 points. He's putting up 20 points a game, 6.7 rebounds, 3.9 assists, shooting 48% from the field and 36% from the three-point line. So his jump shot has improved on this team. I still think he shoots a bit too much for my liking. I don't think he's that strong of a three-point shooter. His volume has gone up, but that's to be expected when your team is kind of asking you to be more of a floor spacer. He can do some things in mid-range, obviously, but for me, I just think for this team, he needed to be a stronger rebounder. He's doing very fine in the playmaking department, even though his assists don't say that. He's definitely been a very solid secondary playmaker. Not the greatest, not something I would hang my hat on for him, but he can do those things when called upon. But I just think he's not the answer for this Minnesota Timberwolves team, and they're lower on the season rankings than I initially anticipated. Do I think he'll get moved in the deadline? I don't know. But for his production alone, I'll put him as a star. I'll put him I would say he's probably played about right here. I think he's in that DeMar DeRozan, Bam, Adebayo kind of level where he has his moments and he can look better than, everybody on the star list outside of maybe Paulo. But just the consistency and the lack of effort on defense really hurts his case for me. but he is a star. I won't say all-star. I don't think he's playing that well, but he's a star level player nonetheless. Um, so coming up next, we have we have Nas Reed. And Nas Reed's kind of having a down year. Um, his points per game have gone down. He was averaging 13.5 last year. Now he's currently at 11.8. Rebounds about the same at 5.2. His assists, he can pass, but he's a bench player. He doesn't have the ball in his hands that much. But his efficiency's gone down from 48 to 44. His three-point shooting's tailed off a little bit. He was at 41 last year, which was scorching hot. Now he's down to 35. So he's kind of came back to earth a little bit in the shooting department. Does Karl Anthony Towns, does that have something to do with it? Probably not. But just seeing him play this season, he's just not hitting the long ball like he was last year. That being said, I have him as a high tier role player. I would probably put him comfortably about right here. And you could make an argument he's playing better than Mikal Bridges, but they're different positions. He's definitely a small ball five to a similar degree of a power forward potentially. I think he's a better fit for this team, for this Minnesota Timberwolves team at the 4 position than Julius Randle. I've kind of been advocating for him to have that starting spot. You give him 30 to 35 minutes a night, see what that does for your spacing, see what that does for you on defense. Just try it out. What's the worst thing that could happen? But, because Julius Randle, he probably will be getting injured at some point. He's a pretty injury prone kind of guy. So I would definitely say to definitely try the Nas Reed experience and kind of go with that and see if that might be the answer for them to finally get back on track. But the Timberwolves have been playing better with Julius Randle through their last 10 games. But when you got your best player, Anthony Edwards, talking about you guys don't have bleep on offense, when they just acquired Julius Randle and got rid of Karl Anthony Towns, that speaks a lot. So we'll see what they do out there in Minnesota, but I don't think Julius Randle's the answer. Coming in next, we got Domantas Sabonis, who is averaging 21.4 points per game, 13 rebounds, 6.2 assists, shooting a 62.6 field goal percentage. Obviously, his 3-point shooting, it says 44.3, but we know he doesn't shoot a ton of them. He shoots very, very low volume. So it's nothing to kind of hang your hat on, but he's shown that he can hit the 3-ball at times. So with that ranking and the fact that his splits have gone up, his rebounding is about the same. His assists are slightly down, but that's to be expected when you bring in another guy who has the ball in his hands in a DeMar DeRozan. So that being said, I'm going to have him as an all-star. He terrorizes Anthony Davis, although Anthony Davis just got the better of him for the first time in probably 3 to 4 seasons. But I would probably have him right above De'Aaron Fox. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I know the Kings have kind of struggled this year. I know Keegan Murray's having a really down year, not shooting the long ball like he's supposed to be. His production's kind of gone down. I think the addition, obviously, of DeMar DeRozan has definitely been an adjustment for the team as a whole. Obviously, you're not getting that much defense out of DeMar DeRozan at this age, and they were never really a strong defensive team to begin with. So, they're definitely trying to outscore more teams than lock them down, and it's kind of showing. But Sabonis and Fox have definitely been a solid duo on this team, and we just still need to figure out the rest of the roster, and they need to hurry up because these guys ain't getting any younger. So next on the list, we have Mr. Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam this year is averaging 20.6 shooting, and he's shooting the 3 at a 42.6 clip. Solid numbers, solid efficiency. Cannot complain too much. He has stepped up big for this Indiana Pacers team, especially since, this guy right here, Mr. Halliburton, is kind of Houdini on the road and back to normal at home. So definitely needs to address that going into the second half of the season, albeit there's a few more games left. before they get into the All-Star break as well. But, just he needs to be better. Pascal Siakam has been doing fine. They could probably have him score more, but I mean, they have so many different options on this Pacers team that he doesn't probably need to give you no more than 20-ish. But I kind of like to see that average kind of more 24-ish personally, because I think he should take more shots. But that's just splitting hairs there. He has definitely increased his volume from the 3-point line, so he's shooting above 40% with increased volume. That's something that's definitely should be applauded, especially since Siakam was never known to be that much of a threat outside three-pointer, obviously, but not as a super threat. So seeing him there doing what he's doing for Indiana, not too much else to say. He's an all-star for me, especially since Halliburton is playing like butt cheeks. And he's probably, I'd have him about right here. I think that's fair. Even though when he does play the Celtics, he be cooking Tatum and Brown. So we'll see about that later. Coming up next, we got Alfred Sengun. I think I always mispronounce his name so much. That's why I say it so slow. But Mr. Sengun is averaging 18.8 points a game, 10.6 rebounds, 5.3 assists, shooting 48% from the field, and it's kind of scared his three-pointer, but he's shooting 25% from three-point line. So obviously we know he is not the shooter that people think when they call him Baby Jokic. Definitely cannot shoot like Mr. Jokic. So that's another part of his game that he can definitely flesh out as he gets more into his career. But he has increased his rebounding numbers and definitely his defensive numbers. He's gone from 0.7 blocks to a full blocking game. Nothing to sneeze at, but something worth to note. And just like Mr. Jokic, Baby Jokic is also averaging about 1.2 steals per game. So they're definitely making up for their lack of rim protection with quick hands and a sharp mind. That being said, where do we have Mr. Alfred Sengun? Even though he's taken a dip in his scoring, he averaged 21.1 last year, so now he's down to 18.8. But that's also, you got other pieces, on the roster stepping up. You got Dylan Brooks shooting the ball well. You got Van Fleet, who's on this list, and I won't get into him right now, but he's something. But you got other pieces on that Houston Rockets roster stepping up in a big way. So, that being said, I'm going to put Mr. Sengun, even though they're number 3 in the West. Move that. We are going to put him. I don't think he's playing better than Bam. I just think their record is better. So I'm gonna have him about right here. I think that's a fair assessment to put him. Will he make the All-Star team? I can definitely see it, considering that Houston is a top 3 seed in the Western Conference as of this recording. But do I think he is an All-Star level guy right now? I don't see All-Star. I see very good star. I see more consistency at that 5 position. But All-Star is kind of hard. Even with these two, even though their records are kind of atrocious, they are playing really, really well. And you can play at an all-star level and not make the all-star team because the rest of your team has not, taken that next step like you have as a star player. But I digress. That could be another topic for another time. We're going to move on to Anthony Simons. I'm going to go ahead and not waste y'all's time with this one. I have him as a role player. I don't think he's really that good, personally speaking. He could be as high as a low level star, but I think he's cool as a role player. I mean, all he knows is mediocrity out there in Portland, so I'm not going to hold that too much against him. He's been rumored to get moved to other teams and everything. We'd have to see what that looks like, but just currently, I mean, he's kind of ticked down on his production. Went from 22.6 last year to 17.7. About 5 assists for both seasons. between this one and last one, of course. But he's shooting the ball a little on the lesser side of efficiency. He went from 43 to 41, and then his three ball has really failed off. It went from 38.5 last season to 33.2. So he's definitely struggling out there. Not the biggest guard in the league, obviously. So he has to take his licks on the defensive end, and then you know got to get cooked out there. So that all that being said, I think he's a mid-level role player, and for this Portland Trailblazers team, he could be considered a star. But I mean, when you're losing a bunch of games like that and not really producing, it'd be one thing if you were killing, averaging like 25 and y'all were still getting smacked. I could put him a little higher as like a star, but I mean, if they're getting smacked up and he's barely averaging 17 points a game, that's kind of as hard as I can take you. Coming up next on the list, we have Mr. Jayson Tatum. Now, Tatum does not get the respect that he deserves, and I'm never going to say I'm a big Tatum guy or a big Celtics guy, but Tatum deserves his flowers, man. I have Tatum. I'm gonna have Tatum. He's gonna be up here on this list. I don't think I'd want to put him. I think for this season right now, I can definitely say he's above Luka, but above Shea, I don't know. They both play defense, but like Tatum is a bigger wing, so he can do more, get rebounds, block more shots than Shea. That one's kind of a toss up. You could make the argument that he could be here or here. I'm not going to fight you if you have him over Shea or you don't, but I think right here in terms of consistency, he's at least top 3 so far on this list. With increased scoring averages from 26.9 now to 28.3, his rebounding has gone up to 9 rebounds a game. He's got 5.5 assists, shooting the ball slightly less efficiency, going from 47 to 45, but that's virtually the same, honestly, especially the degree of difficulty his shots are. And his three-point percentage has gone down. He was 38% last year. Now he's down to 36. But when you're shooting about almost 10, 11 threes a game, that 36 looks really good. So he's definitely GOAT tier, leading his team in damn near every statistical category. He is a Swiss Army knife guy out there. I see him guarding centers, and that's definitely a big plus for them. From last year when he was able to switch on to bigs and guard a guy like Gafford or Lively, when Horford would be getting foul trouble or Porzingis was injured. So definitely seeing his switchability on defense definitely goes a long way for this Celtics team. So can't say enough great things about Jayson Tatum. He's GOAT tier, and anybody who disagrees, argue with yourself. Next, we got Steady Freddy, Fred VanVleet. Ooh, his numbers are definitely scary. Going from 17 points a game last year to now 15. Not gonna really spend time on the rebounding numbers. I mean, he went from 3.8 to 4.2, so nice. His assists has gone down a little bit, but that's to be expected when you got the emergence of a guy like Alfred Sengun, who's kind of having the ball in his hands a little bit more and is able to create for others and for himself. That being said, his efficiency is also taking a nosedive from 41.6 to 37.7, and then his three-pointer fell off a cliff, going from a very solid 38.7 to barely 30%. So where do I have Mr. Steady Freddy? Steady Freddy's going to go right here. And I'm going to, I think I'm going to keep everybody on this list about right here. I might move some more people around as the list goes on. But yeah, Steady Freddy's about right there. Not having the greatest season, but they're winning. And he's struggling to a degree. He takes some difficult shots and he takes some faraway shots that you just kind of like sit there and ask yourself, why is he shooting so far? But, he's getting up there in age. He doesn't have the quickest first step no more. So sometimes that's the kind of shots you got to take and make at his size and his position. So he's a 6-foot guy in the League of Giants. Respect to you. Just got to get that efficiency up a little bit. Next, we have Mr. Wet Bananas, Victor Wembanyama. So this season, he's averaging 24.5 points a game, 10.1 rebounds, 3.9 assists, shooting 47.7 from the field and 34.3 from three-point line, albeit with his three-point volume definitely shooting up. So he's improved his three-point shooting. Still not scary, but improved, and he's increased his volume. So you always have to take into consideration when a player increases their volume and their efficiency goes up, definitely need to give them their flowers there. That being said, where do I have Mr. Wemby? Also averaging 3.5 blocks, which we understand he is a defensive, nightmare for opposing teams. And he's averaging 1.2 steals a game. So for me, I have Mr. Wet Bananas. Mr. Wet Bananas is, I'm gonna go right here. I'm gonna go right there. Definitely comfortably in the all-star position. He will make the all-star team this year. I don't give a damn how bad the San Antonio Spurs might look at times. He is definitely an all-star. And with the fan voting and everything, he gonna get in. Don't you worry about that. So I'm not gonna spend no more time on that. We're gonna move right along to Mr. Kobe White. And his brother can score. That's kind of been his calling card. He can shoot the heck out of the ball. He can score at three levels. And, he's just kind of wasting away in Chicago. It kind of hurts to see a player like him of his magnitude being kind of wasted away. You would love to see him on a contending team. I'd love to see him on Milwaukee, personally speaking. They need somebody like a Kobe White who can score in bunches. But not even just Milwaukee. Other contending teams could use him. Hell, the Lakers know damn sure they could use him, but that's another topic for another day. That being said, with 18 points a game, shooting, his splits have gone down a little bit, but he has been a little in and out of the lineup with injuries. But he's shooting 41% from the field and 36% from the three-point line. So, again, respectable numbers. Efficiency has dropped from 44.7 to 41.7, but we understand injuries play a factor in some of these things as well. And he's not exempt from that. So we're going to put him in the role player tier. Probably going to have him. Honestly, I think he's better than most of these guys. I think he's a very high level role player, could even be a low tier star, depending on who you ask. But I think he's comfortable in that role player position. And yeah, I'm good with that. So next, move this over real quick. We got the baldest in the group. We got somebody who's in contention for CW's baldest of all time. We got Mr. Derek White. He has stepped up big time for the Celtics team when Jaylen Brown went down with injury earlier on. And, between him and Peyton Pritchard, you cannot say enough good things about them. This is why the Celtics are so scary and so deep. It's because you have a guy like Derek White. You got Drew Holiday and you got Peyton Pritchard. Like, you got so many options, and you even got more wing depth with Sam Hauser. Like, the list goes on. Can't say enough good things about the Celtics. But Mr. Derek White, 17 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 45% from the field. His three-point splits have been about the same, 39% from both this season and last season, averaging 1.1 blocks per game as like a 6'4" guard. Insane. And 1.1 steals per game. We understand what he is on both sides of the ball. I have Derek White. He's a star. And we're not just talking about the reflection of his bald head. I mean, he is actually a star, though. Like, where I would put him, that's a good question. I think I'd put Derek White about right here. Albeit his ceiling is definitely like, sometimes he can look like an all-star for like on weeks at a time. Like, he can give you 30 points pretty much whenever, just because he shoots the three so damn good. And he can give you elite level defense too. So can't say enough about him. So he's comfortably in that star position. And we're gonna move right on next to Mr. Zion Williamson. He hasn't played very much as well, so I'm not gonna spend too much time. But he was averaging 22.7, 8 rebounds, 5.3 assists, shooting 45% from the field, which a very small sample size, and he was most likely not in the greatest of shape when he was playing. And of course, he got injured again anyway, so it didn't really matter if he was in shape or not. And he also averaged 1.2 blocks per game. Um, so for that, he's going to be put at a low-level star. He's right back there with Mr. Embiid. Guys just can't stay healthy. It's a shame for the NBA, and there's nothing else you can really say. Wish him well. Hopefully he takes his diet serious as he's recovering, because we would love to see Zion the player instead of Zion the meme. But on a more positive note, let's go to Trae Young, who is averaging 21.6 points a game, 12.2 assists per game, and his field goal percentage is kind of not the worst, but definitely scary. Going from 43 to 39 is definitely not the jump you would like to see from your franchise point guard. But nonetheless, he's definitely, I think he has more of a different approach this year in terms of how he wants to run the Atlanta offense. He's not shooting the long ball well at all this season, going from 37 last season to 32% this season. So definitely not respectable out there. But because he's so fast and so dynamic, he can get to the paint, he can get to his floater, and he can pass the heck out of that ball. So where would I put Mr. Trae Young? Mr. Trae Young, got him about right here. I think he's definitely comfortably an all-star this season. You don't have to put up 30 points a game to be an all-star if you're passing and your diming skills. And he's shown that he can definitely score at an elite level at times. His averages don't say that, but he's definitely taking a more pass-first approach on this team, because you got guys like a Jalen Johnson, who's on this list. We'll talk about him soon. Risa Shea, who can give you some things, and Hunter and the rest of that crew, like, they have weapons there, and he's utilizing them, and he's getting the other guys involved instead of going out there and averaging 30 points a game and getting smacked by 20. He's instilling confidence into those other guys, and even leading to this Jalen Johnson breakout season. So all that to be saying, he is an all-star in my opinion. And, what he did to the Knicks in that NBA Cup game, again, just cannot say enough things about Mr. Trae Young. Next, we got a player that's very near and dear to me, Mr. LeBron James, man. Father Time is catching up. Bron has looked pretty old this season. I cannot lie. Man. It's hard to watch sometimes. LeBron he's like a roller coaster this season. He looks really good at times, and he looks like, damn, bro, you should have probably retired like this. Like, you should have retired yesterday. Like, it just looks bad for him, man, sometimes. His numbers have definitely dissipated in terms of the scoring. Went from 25.7 last year to 22.6, 8.3 rebounds to 7.9, 7.3 assists last season, but now he's at 9 assists per game. So he's definitely taking more of the facilitator role. They're definitely looking for AD more in this Lakers offense. Guys like Reeves, obviously he's getting a scoring lift. And Dalton Connect, finding him in his spots on the floor. Rui's kind of in and out of the lineup, but definitely a productive force when called upon. So, but LeBron's also taking a dip in his field goal percentage. Not like it's crazy. He was 54 last season. Now he's 48.6. But we also saw this from a LeBron season, not this past season, but the one before that, where he's shooting about 50% from the floor. So, not super concerned about that. Obviously, he does look slower. We understand his defense is not all-time great defense right now. I mean, the brother's 40, so if you're expecting a 40-year-old to play all-time level defense, I don't really know what to tell you. He's shooting the three ball at 36% from the floor, which was a 5% decrease from last season, where he was shooting 41%, which was his best three-point shooting season of his career. So obviously we understand that he wasn't going to keep shooting the ball that crazy. But he's also averaging a career high in turnovers, at about four turnovers a game. We understand LeBron has some sloppy tendencies at times to just overpass. kind of, when he doesn't have that step and he does take, goes to the basket, sometimes he gets lost out there. Sometimes he thinks guys are going to hit the corner, but they pop out to the wing, et cetera, et cetera. And teams are just, honing in on the fact that he's just not all the way there athletically. So they can play to that and force him into some tough decisions where he does turn the ball over. That's just the fact of the matter. I say all that. Where do I put LeBron James right now? I'm going to have to say, the only person on this all-star list who you could say is like comparable to LeBron in terms of like the roller coaster, the ups and downs, is probably a guy like Steph Curry. Can I say LeBron's a comfortable all-star? I think if there was this tier between all-star and star, I think that's where LeBron comfortably sits. But I think LeBron is probably uh this one is so tough for me, man. So tough for me. I'm gonna put LeBron here. And before people start going crazy and saying, "Oh, you're a LeBron fan. Why is he not GOAT? Why is he not a comfortable all-star?" Like LeBron is damn near averaging a triple double. Um, and that's definitely to be respected. But I think to say he's playing at the same level as a guy like Anthony Davis, who is a high tier all-star, I just don't think I can do that. I think Anthony Davis, obviously, I think he's having like 27 and a half and like 11 rebounds or something like that. Like AD is playing damn near GOAT tier. But again, the consistency for me, which I alluded to in the last video, is why I can't have him in that GOAT tier. And the same thing for LeBron. When he's kind of giving you 18 one night, 19 the other night, sometimes he can explode and give you 39, but then he kind of comes back and then 20 points, 18 points. Like I can't comfortably say he is a for sure all-star this season. Now, will he make it on his namesake? Probably. But this is probably going to be one of the first times in his career where he's going to make the all-star team, and he's not really an all-star this year. Could be wrong. Got some time to change my opinion and the rest of the voters. But the voting did start about a few days ago from this recording, so we'll see. But yeah, I have him as a mid-tier star, no longer for sure all-star. Just father time, baby. Next, we got GOAT Jokic. Nikola Jokic. Yeah, Jokic is. Let's move Giannis right over here. Yeah, Jokic is the best player in the game. We don't need to spend too much time on this either. What this man doing is absolutely insane. Averaging 31 points a game, 13 rebounds, almost 10 assists, 9.8 to be exact. 56% from the field, 50% from the three-point line. Let me repeat that again. 50% from the three-point line. That is literally insane. It just gets to a point, man, where it's just like, what else can this brother not do? We understand his athleticism is non-existent, but he's still going out there and giving your favorite team 30, consistently on efficient shooting. So, Jokic is the best player in the league. They need to get him some help. They're talking about potentially Zach LaVine coming over there. Do I love that? Maybe. It will give them something else, somebody that he can pass to that can score the ball consistently, maybe. Who knows? Michael Porter Jr. is a freaking nightmare on that team. I think he probably is playing himself right out of Denver to go to some mid-level team. Maybe like the Chicago Bulls. Who knows? Honestly, who knows? But they definitely need to change something out there in Denver if they're going to maximize this Nikola Jokic window. He's definitely playing great. Can't take it away from him. Playing like an MVP, but I don't know if I would give him the MVP. Coming up next, we have Tyler Hero. Him and Jalen Johnson are two people I just recently added to this list because I want to kind of shake things up a little bit. But Tyler Hero for the Miami Heat is averaging 24 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, increased his efficiency going from 44.1 last season to 47.5, and shooting the three ball about the same, going from 39.6 last season to 40.9, so almost 41%. on great volume. So he's shooting a lot of threes and he's making a very good amount of them. Can't take it away from Tyler Hero. Probably been the most consistent thing offensively for this Miami Heat team on a team with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. So you got to give him this respect there. And for me personally, I'm gonna have him right here. I think Tyler Hero is definitely playing in that all-star realm. Um, I think what he has done for this Miami Heat offense, he is being like the force that drives them at times when you have the ins and outs of Jimmy Butler and the inconsistency, the injury bug, obviously Father Time catching up to Jimmy Butler as well, and the fact that Bam sometimes does not look for his own shot. You got to have somebody like Tyler Hero who's like, just give me the damn ball. I'm going to shoot us in or out of this game. That's what he does. And he's been hitting more of those shots than he's been missing. So got to give him his respect. I think he's playing at all-star level. Will he make the all-star team? That's a conversation for a different video. And finally on the list, on my side of things at least, got Jalen Johnson. Now, Jalen Johnson has increased his stats across the board. This is definitely a potential MIP season for Mr. Jalen Johnson, increasing his points per game from 16 to almost 20 to be 19.7 to be exact. He's gone from 8.7 rebounds to now 10.1 rebounds a game, 3.6 assists to now 5.4. His shooting splits 51% from the field last season, trickled down to 50, basically no change there. Then his 3-point percentage, it's kind of been about the same. That's probably the only statistic that where it's kind of been about the same, going from 35 to almost 35. It's like 34 point something this season, shooting from three. So obviously he can work on that. But when you're so damn good at everything else, honestly, having a consistent 3-point shot in this league, it's not really a requirement anymore. Especially when you're giving me 1.4 steals a game and 1.2 blocks per game as a 6'8" wing. So where do I have Mr. Jalen Johnson? Jalen Johnson. Mr. Jalen Johnson right here. I think he has proven that he is a very solid star level player. Not an all-star yet, but very close. But definitely a star level player nonetheless. What he's doing at all three levels for this Atlanta Hawks team, playing alongside Arisha. Obviously, he's got Hunter and he's got Trae Young, the crew, Capella. I think Okongwu's still out with injury, but I know they always put Clint Capella's name in trade rumors. But despite all that, he's definitely playing as, I would say, he's their second best player, easily their second best player. So definitely have to give him his flowers too. Can't give him the all-star nod quite yet, but he's definitely on that list. So yeah, I think that'll do my list. So just looking back through this, I still think LaMelo and Cade Cunningham, I'm gonna stand by them being in the all-star level. They're playing like all-stars. That does not mean they will make the all-star team because their records are kind of butt cheeks, especially the Hornets. The Pistons have improved, so we will see. But I have spent about 38 minutes on this, so I think that's a good stopping point for me. I think this list is pretty reflective of how I view these guys around the league. It just kind of hurts me to see LeBron so low on this list, but that's Father Time, and I try to keep it real with you guys. I try not to, be a LeBron James Glazer, whatever like people be saying. He's definitely the GOAT in my opinion, but he's not playing like a GOAT tier player right now. Everything else in this list, Paul George, hopefully he steps his game up because he looked kind of bad right now. So, but either way, I'm gonna get on up out of here. If you guys definitely are interested in more of these videos, more of these basketball BigNige, definitely comment down below. Comment any suggestions on what you want me to discuss next. The holidays are coming up. We're really getting close to Christmas. So you might get a Christmas recording, maybe a Christmas live stream. Maybe I can talk CW into that. Or if not, I'll definitely see you guys in the coming weeks and open up that new year with you guys and give you more content with basketball BigNige. But as always, appreciate you for pulling up for the video. Definitely like, comment down below your thoughts of this list. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one, and I'm out.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.